Hey everybody, I'm Steph.
I'm Michael
Today we're checking out Windmill Valley.
from Board and Dice.
Yes.
This game plays 1 to 4 players and has a box playtime of 45 to 90 minutes. So, do you like action selection?
No.
No? You do too?
I do too.
I'm like, what? Who put, it's like a Steph Pod person over here.
Kidding.
Do you like action selection using gears?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of good games with that. You love Zolkin. I know you love Zolkin. You love Corrosion.
I do.
So you love all of these little... Anyway, if you love those, you're probably going to love Windmill Valley because there's gears and there's action selection galore.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
exciting.
And I have always enjoyed Board and Dice's games. And I enjoy Danny Garcia's games, so this was a perfect fit for us. So,
well, it's like summer. It's like beautiful. It just reminds me of summer, and it's coming out soon, so we definitely wanted to make sure everybody could see how beautiful this game is.
That's right.
And how fun.
That's right. So thanks to Board and Dice for sending us this copy of Windmill Valley, but they didn't give it to us in exchange for this video. They gave it to us because they know we like to play all the games. That's right. Cosmic Beat knows, Stacy knows, Legends knows. Let's go ahead and get right to the rules while I teach you all the rules. So here is everything set up. You will not need these light green cards, this overlay card, and the solo player aid. All of those can go right back to the box, unless you're playing solo, but these rules will not cover the solo playthrough. You are going to shuffle up all of these wheel enhancement tiles, but keep them separated by color. You've got the dark brown, the light brown, and the steel color. And as you see, they correspond to these spots up here. You're also going to shuffle up all of the enhancements, not the enhancements, farm enhancement cards, and draw 3 of them, place them up here. You'll notice that there are blue ones, red ones, and also in the deck are yellow ones. The blue ones tend to correspond to tulips that you have planted in your garden rows. The red ones tend to deal with windmill placements on the main board, and the yellow ones have, I guess, a variety of different things, it seems. Shuffle these right back up. You will also take the 4 foreign trade cards and just put them in a face-up stack in this position. You're going to need some neutral markers placed on the 0 and 1 here. And then other neutral markers that will be placed in the market based on player count. For a 2-player game, you're going to need 1 neutral marker in each of the 3 market areas. And you're going to, that's all the neutral markers that you're going to need. 3-player game, you're going to need 1 neutral market in each of the 2 areas without the first player's marker. So I would have, if James would have chosen here, Steph would have chosen here, and I would have chosen here, and I'm first player, which I am, we would have put the neutral markers like so. 1 with James, 1 with Steph, not 1 with me. So we have, everybody is going to get a player board and a set of windmills that are super attractive and wooden chonky. You're going to place them in the spots on your player board. There's actually a dual layer player board. It might be a triple layer player board. You're going to place 1 of your small discs on the number of guilders that you start with. I'll get right back to that in a second. Your 1 large marker on the victory point, 1 large marker on the 0 space of the calendar track, and 1 of your discs to be placed on the market based on turn order. There is one more small disc left over, and that is going to be for the Queen's favor card. What is that card? Is that Queen's Wish? The Queen's Wish card. So you are going to shuffle up the cards with the dark green background. They're showing up surprisingly well on our green screen. They will look like this on the back, which looks just like that Queen's Wish over there, and looks like this on the front. Shuffle these up and deal out one more than the player count. You're going to display those, and you're going to select a first player as you normally would. The first player is going to have 4 Gilder. Next player is going to have 5 Gilder. So Steph has 5 Gilder. Next player gets 6. Next player gets 7. The first player is going to get 1 white tulip bulb. The second player gets a yellow tulip bulb. The third player gets a red. The fourth player gets a violet. The final color is a black tulip bulb. The rules actually say that although they have not created a fully black tulip bulb yet, the closest they've gotten is a super, super dark blue. But they do call them black tulips. So you'll notice I've placed my tulip in the storage spot of my player board. Notice I've got 7 spots on the bottom of my player board. Anytime that I gain tulips, I can only place them in these first 5 spots. If I decide to keep a 6th, I have to pay a Gilder. And if I ever take a 7th bulb, I have to pay 2 more Gilder on top of that. So notice you can never go beyond 9 Gilder. You can never spend below 0 Gilder. So you can never take a loan or anything. And you cannot choose an action that you cannot pay for. In reverse player order, you're going to select one of the starting farm enhancement cards, and you're going to, after you've chosen it, you're going to place it in your first slot on your board. You have 3 other slots for helpers. You'll notice that they have victory points on them, and you've got 3 spots at the bottom for contracts. So 3 helpers, 3 contracts. This is going to give you an ability that you can use once per turn. Unless it says something different on it. For example, mine has an infinity symbol on it, which means mine always happens, not just once per turn. The unselected card is going to be flipped over and placed on the Queen's Wish. Now, the really cool thing about it is generally the thing, at least what we've seen so far, is that the Queen's Wish goal, it's basically a race to get this first to get the most points. And the thing that this is related to generally would be helped if you had taken the backside helper card. So whatever nobody took as a helper card is probably going to be, would have been helped had you taken it with whatever this Queen's Wish is. Let me see if I missed anything on setup. We're going to do this in reverse player order. Steph chose this region. I had to choose a different region. I cannot go in the same region as Steph. In a 4-player game, obviously, the 4th player is going to have to select a spot where there already is another player. Oh, I did not mention in a 4-player game, you're only going to put 1 neutral marker in the area counterclockwise from the first player's marker. I did leave that out, but you can find that in the setup on the rule books. When you're playing with fewer than 4 players, you're also going to block out a part of the calendar. With 3 players, you're going to block out this row here. With 1 or 2 players, you're going to block out the bottom row. And I believe that is all of setup. We are going to play through 3 calendar years. When we get to the 4th year, when the 4th year triggers, I guess we play through 4 years, I should say. When that 4th year triggers, we're going to finish out the round and we're going to get 1 more turn each. And I might not even make it to the end. Like in the game that I played with Steph, I did not make it all the way to the end. Now, everyone's got a unique wheel. My wheel is slightly different from Steph. Notice that the right side has 5 of these 2 water lower actions, and the other side has things in a different order than what Steph has. You'll need to start out your wheel so that the red spoke matches up with the red arrow. Whenever this red spoke meets this red arrow or passes this red arrow, that's a new calendar year, and you are going to advance 1 space on the calendar track. And then those bonuses will become available to you. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Oh, I did forget to mention, everybody takes 1 tool. It looks like a little gear. So, on your turn, if you, the first thing that you're going to do is down here in the corner, you're going to adjust the water speed. You don't have to adjust it, but you can. If you do decide to increase the water speed, you pay a guilder and you get a victory point. Notice everything that you see on the board that has a red number on it is something that you have to pay. Anything that has a white number is something that you get to gain. For example, taking a look at this helper card, notice that this says +1 plant action, but you have to spend a victory point. So red means pay, white means gain. If you want to boost it another time, it's going to cost you an additional 2 guilder, but you get an additional 3 victory points. And what that's going to do is it's going to raise the water level by 1 or by 2. So that's the second thing that you do on your turn, is to move the water level either 0, 1, or 2 spaces. If it is close to the edge, you cannot keep this water speed to where it would exceed this 8 value. So I would have to lower the water speed either 1 or 2 spots. Lowering water speed does not cost any guilder, does not gain any points. You cannot lower it all the way and then pay a guilder to get a victory point. You either move it one direction or the other, never both in a turn. So if I were in this situation, I would have to either lower this 1 or 2 spaces. If I lower it 2 spaces, this is going to stay at 7. If I lower it 1 space, it will creep up to 8. And then on Steph's turn, Steph has no choice but to immediately move it all the way down at the start of her turn.
Boo.
Well, that's what happens when the water level is full all the way up. So the other thing that this water speed does is that influences how fast your gears turn. So if I've got this cranked all the way up to 3, my gears are going to go 3 spaces. For example, 1, 2, 3, just like that. And then I will be able to take one of these 2 actions where these arrows are pointing. If for some reason one of your actions has a little plus sign on it, for example, if you have enhanced a spot with this action, you get to take both actions. You'd get to get a bulb and you get to move the water level. Or if I had placed it over here, gain a bulb and do a windmill action.
Seems really good.
It does seem really good. But most of them do not have a plus sign on it. You have to choose one or the other. Now, if you want to make your gears turn faster or slower, you could have done it maybe up here, but if you could not make it go any faster, or if you were forced like Steph to move it all the way down to the 1 position, but she really needed her gears to move faster, she could spend 1 or more tools to increase or decrease her gears. They must go a minimum of 1. They can go a maximum of 4.
They're handy. Don't spend them willy-nilly.
They are super handy. So, first thing you do. Second thing you do. The third thing you do is to rotate the wheels on your windmill a number of steps. And then the fourth thing you do is the action printed on one of your tiles on your wheel. Let's go over each of those actions. So,
you have a player aid. That's helpful.
Yes. So the player aid, I will show that on here. The player aid is super helpful. One side shows the turn structure. The other side shows what each of the actions do. Now, every time you see these symbols, it basically means that you can take that action, whether you see it on a foreign trade card like this, or you see it on your wheel, then you will basically, to take whatever action that is. So the first thing we will talk about is to enhance the wheel. You get to pay 0 to 2 guilders to install one of these enhancements right here. And you can install them anywhere on your wheel except where your arrows are currently pointing. You can put it on any of the other sections. If you replace an enhancement that is already there, you cannot move the enhancement. You have to get rid of it. So notice that these are free. This costs 1 guilder. This costs 2 guilder. You can one time optionally refresh all of these by getting rid of all of these and putting in new ones, and that's going to be at a cost of 1 guilder. You cannot do this multiple times. You cannot do this after taking yours. You have to do it before your action, not after. So I can't take what I want, see the new thing that pops up, and then deny it from Steph by rotating it. So, and then you'll place it over here on your wheel. Let's see. The next action that we will talk about is to build a windmill right here. So for building a windmill, you've got all your windmills here on the side. You do not have to build them in any particular order. Matter of fact, depending on what your the tulips that you have placed, you might want to place some versus others. For example, there is one windmill slot for this, opening up this enhancement, which is at the end of the game. For every white tulip you have planted, you're going to get 1 victory point. For every yellow tulip, 1 victory point. Again, it's a 1 slot windmill area. If you can clear both of these windmills, 2 points for every red. If you can clear these 2 windmills, 2 points for every violet. If you can clear all 3 of these, 3 points for every black.
That's what won me the game.
That is what won you the game for sure. When you place a windmill, you're going to take any of these windmills on the side, and you're going to place it so that you have an uninterrupted path of windmills between your windmill and the market. Currently, that means I have to start off here, or here, or here, or here. And those are the only places available to me. Now, let's say Steph comes along and does a windmill placement action. She can place any of those spots or up here or back here because there is a line of windmills that connects up to the market. They don't have to be your windmills. They just have to be windmills. Everybody that has a windmill on the path to the market gets a guilder. You have to...
I think it's a point.
It's a point. Yeah, you are correct. Not a guilder. It is indeed a point. Now, here's the catch. Let's say I build a windmill here. I do not give myself a point. It's everybody else's windmill. So, when you build your windmill, you will get rewards from each of the adjacent fields. So I'm going to get a yellow and a purple here. Here I'm going to get a yellow and a tool. Here I'm going to get a purple and an enhance action and a visit the market action. So the further out you go, the more lucrative those rewards become.
You follow the arrows for this is technically adjacent to this one, I would say, but you don't get that because there's
no arrow. Correct. They don't consider it adjacent because it's the corner, I guess, for some reason, though it's no more a corner than the other oones.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, I don't know. Maybe take a look.
Always so just follow the arrows.
Follow the arrows. Let me see here. Notice that it's going to cost you between 0 and 4 guilder, depending on the cost on the space. Let's see. You must use the shortest path, tracing a path back to the market. If there are 2 equally short paths, then you can just choose whichever one you prefer. There are some enhancements. You build windmills that are not connected to the market, by an uninterrupted paths. They don't create a path of their own, meaning if Steph were to place way out here, I cannot then place next to just because she has one here. And so it's not adjacent to, it is a path to the market. So that is super important. Let's talk a little bit about visiting the market. Notice that the default space is visit the market twice, and it's going to cost you 2 guilders. You cannot do half of that action by paying 1 guilder and visiting the market once. So how do you visit the market? You move your disc to the next clockwise area and then count up the number of discs, and that's the strength of your action. So after I've moved here, notice that there are 3 discs. I can either plant 3 black, take 3 red, or take 3 white. I cannot take a white and 2 red. I cannot take a white, a red, and plant a black tulip. Well, actually, I can because of my ability, but normally you would not be able to do that. And that is 1 market action. My second market action would be moving 1 more space. You cannot spend anything to move additional spaces. You can only move 1 space to take the market action. Optionally, you can spend a guilder to move one of the neutral markers into another spot. For example, I could move this neutral marker here for a guilder. Also, for a guilder, I can move on top of another player's disc. It can't be a neutral disc. I can hop on top of Steph's discs, but this does not count as 4 discs. So it really doesn't help me to move a neutral and hop on top. It might help if someone had done that, and then someone comes, if Steph had done this, and then James came along later and had no choice but to jump on top. Unfortunately, he would have to give Steph 1 guilder for jumping on top and being able to use this action. So let me reset all of this. You cannot do this multiple times. You can only move 1 neutral disc 1 time, once per turn, not once per market action. So I could not do, let's say Steph was in here. I can't go that and then that for my second. It's once per turn. Also, like I said, it does not increase the strength of the action if I'm on top of Steph's piece because it's a maximum strength of 3. Let's talk a little bit about farm enhancements. That's this one right here. That way you can get a helper or a contract. Notice you've got these right here. Just like with the wheel enhancements, you can refresh this 1 time only for 1 guilder, removing all 3 of these and dealing out 3 new ones. You will take one of these and then you will either place it as a helper or as a contract. As a helper, you're going to get the top thing. For example, whenever I do a windmill action, I lower the water level. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. If I don't want to use this as a helper, I might want to use this as the contract. If I have a row of white tulips at the end of the game, I'm going to get 10 victory points. I want to make sure that it's not per row. I mean, that may be interesting.
It would be terrible because you'd lose a lot more points for that.
That it is correct. It received 10 victory points for each full row of white.
Maybe you just plant all whites and then it's.
I mean, that is 40 points.
I'm just saying you're gonna lose.
You will lose
23 points for
that.
It
is true. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
You probably just want to do 1 row of white.
So choose one of these, and then refresh afterwards. When you get your first helper, you get a victory point. Your second helper, 3 victory points. Your third helper, 6 victory points. If you have a full set of helpers and you want another helper, you can indeed swap them out. And remember, these are usable one time per turn. You can't, like, if I'm taking multiple windmill actions on a turn, which is possible, I do not get this multiple times in a turn. I get it once per turn. But yes, you can discard a helper to put in a new one, but you do not get these victory points multiple times. You will only get this 1, 3, and 6 one time. No extra victory points for placing the contracts, and no penalty for putting the contracts and not scoring them. You don't get penalized for any of that. Let's talk about this action. It is planting tulip bulbs. You move tulip bulbs from your storage area to your tulip patches. You get to plant them in the leftmost available tulip patch. And then if there's any benefits on that on the space that you cover up, you are going to get it immediately. If there are any icons that you cannot decipher, the handy dandy iconography guide is super clear on all of that. There was only one that we could not figure out, and with the rule book, it was really easy to figure out. So a little bit of strategy here. What you want to do is you want to do full rows of the same color tulip bulb, because if you can fill it up with the same color, you're going to get 8, 9, 7, or 6 points if they are all the same color. If you fill them up but they're not the same color, that's okay. You're going to get some points. You're just not going to get the larger point values. Now, you also want to have different colors on each of your columns, because if you do and you fill them up, you're going to get 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points for having full columns of differently colored bulbs. If you have even 2 bulbs that are the same color, 2 or more bulbs that are the same color, you're going to lose 5 points, 5 points, 4 points, 4 points, 3 points, and 2 points. So the downside becomes a little bit less as the game goes on. Just try to make sure you have 4 different colors going down. And you can't get out of it by planting 3 that are the same color, even though it does say 2 of them that are the same color. You get the
I assume it's 2
downside.
Or more.
It is. If you have at least 2, then you're going to get the downside. Let's talk a little bit about foreign trade. That is the ship right here. For foreign trade, what you're going to do is you are going to take one of your tulip bulbs. Well, there's actually 2 things you can do. Let's talk about the first one. You're going to take one of your tulip bulbs and you are going to place it on the foreign trade card in between 2 of these offers. And then you're going to get those 2 offers. For example, if I place my white tulip bulb right here, I'm going to get 1 enhancement and 2 bulbs of any color. If I were to place it here, I would get a enhancement and a plant action. If the spot's not available, obviously I cannot do it. Also, every time that a tulip bulb is placed here, it has to be of a different color. So after I've done that, now neither Steph nor I can put a white or a red on any of these spaces. Once the 4th space has been covered, you're going to discard all the tulip bulbs off these spaces and put this card to the bottom, revealing the next card in line. Alternatively, if you don't want to take any of these actions, what you can do instead of or if you have no tulip bulbs in your storage, you obviously can't take them from your planted area. But if you have no tulips in storage, you might want to take all of the tulips that are on this card. Especially, for example, if there are 3 really good ones that you're going for, you can take all of them from the card and it will clear that card, making it continue to be available for other players. Then you're going to place those 3 in storage. If there are any that you cannot place or don't want to place them, you can just discard them off to the side. They will not stay in the boxes here. So Finally, let's talk a little bit about lowering the water level. That's everything on this side, though there are enhancements that might improve these, or you might be able to place the lower water level on the other side. How this works is like so. Notice that all of these are 2 of lowering the water level. That's lowering it at a strength of 2. What you're going to do is you're going to look at where the water level is right now, and for every time for every strength, you are going to get the value printed above the current space. For example, it's above the 5. I get to move this twice, and each time I get to take 2 gilder or 2 victory points. So I'm going to move this 1, 2, and I'm going to get 2 of these rewards. Now notice I didn't get one of these rewards and one of these rewards. It's wherever this is at the start of that action, multiplied by the strength. If I had a strength 4 action of this, I get to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and get 4 of these enhancements. So I could take maybe 6 gilder and 2 victory points, or I could take 8 victory points and no gilder. So that's pretty cool.
Hi, Time Roller.
Hi, Time Roller. So that is basically all of the actions. Sometimes you'll see things like this that means plant, but it's a specific color. That means you are limited to planting only bulbs of that color. A lot of times things that you do will chain actions off of one another. For example, I might have a trade card that lets me plant something, and the planting may let me take a farm enhancement where I take a helper or a contract. Steph might plant a windmill that's going to give her an enhancement, and the enhancement gives her a bulb. So a lot of things, it's really combo-tastic. We all like that. Now remember what I said, when this red meets or passes, the red meets the red, you move your little marker along the calendar track, and you're going to get, at some point in your turn, this reward. And one of the rewards underneath. Clearly, Steph would take the 3 gilder over the 2 gilder reward, if for no other reason than to keep me away from it. And once something is taken, you're going to put the little X over the top of it, showing it is no longer available. Now, Steph might be moving her gears along really quickly, and I might be moving them along really slowly, optimizing my wheel a lot. But that is going to allow her to get to the end and trigger the end of the game faster, also giving her a whole lot of victory points.
It would get expensive after a while if you kept putting it back to 1 and I was trying to get it up to 3 every time.
It will. However, there may be reasons to do so.
Sure, if you have money.
Or if you have, maybe you have tools that you can really adjust
tons of tools,
how you're doing things.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned before, once someone reaches the end, we are going to finish the current round, and each player gets 1 more turn. You're going to get points for the contracts on your farm board, these contracts here. You're going to get points for your empty windmill groups. That means points for every white, yellow, red, violet, or black tulip that you have on your board. And your complete rows and columns, that's going to score at this time as well. Then the player with the most victory points wins. In the case of a tie, most tulip bulbs and patches. If you're still tied, most tulip bulbs in storage. If you're still tied, most windmills on the main board. If still a tie, share the victory. The only thing that I did not mention is, as soon as you meet this requirement, for example, in this case, if you have all of these bulbs planted in your garden, then you are going to, if you're the first, you're going to get 10 victory points. Just place your little disc. That marks that one is no longer available, and immediately score the points. I believe that is all the rules. Did I leave out anything, Steph?
I don't think so.
Not that you can think of. Not that you actually listened to me.
Whoa.
Burn.
Oh, no. No.
Proven says looks fun. Needs more rondos, in my opinion. These gear wheels are really interesting in that, one side has 6 and one side has 5, and they move at the same rate. So by the time you get it around here again, something else is pointing at the other side instead of what you thought it was.
Did you actually say when you get an upgrade you can't put it in those?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
That's the only thing.
You can't put it in the ones next to the
currently happening.
That's correct.
But yeah.
So we're going to do separate videos and playthroughs, or are we ready to go?
No, we're going to do two. Just to keep it simple for those who want to learn the rules and those who want to see the playthrough.
That's right.
So if you're checking this out after the fact on YouTube and you want to see the playthrough, click on the video below. And yeah.
That's right. And if you're already checking us out on YouTube, then you already know to go to @BoardGamerSteph to find more of these fantastic playthroughs and rules teaches on YouTube. Or if you want to join all of these wonderful people in the chat, you can join us on twitch.tv/BoardGamerSteph every Wednesday and Sunday night at 5 p.m. Central, where we stream 3 games and usually many, many more every single stream. So come join us on Twitch, where we play all the games.
And for those on Twitch, we'll be right back with the playthrough.
Yeah.
Yes.